Hey Band Network Remote Teaching Series.
Welcome to the Hey Band Network. This is the Remote Teaching Series, and today we have Ryan Straten from Timberview Middle School in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with us. Welcome to the Hey Band Network, Ryan.
Thank you, Chad. I'm really glad to be here. I think this forum that you're doing is really cool. So I'm excited to be a part of it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me. We'll get into what we're going to do. So a little bit about yourself. You've been at Timberview for how many years?
This is finishing year 3.
Okay. And prior to your time there, where were you at?
I was at Williams Middle School in Rockwall ISD, which is east of Dallas, for 2 years. Before that, I was in Highland Park for a year, and then I spent 4 years at Henry Middle School in Leander for 4 years.
Excellent. Great. And you got a great program up there where you're at, and so we'll kind of get into that. So let's talk about and share with everybody what does the Timberview Middle School program look like when you're in school with your bands and sixth graders and numbers and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so Timberview is in Keller ISD, and Keller is just north of downtown Fort Worth. It's a suburb of Fort Worth. And Timberview Middle School is one of 6 middle school campuses in Keller. And not all the middle school campuses in Keller are structured the same. There are 3, now going to 2 of the 6 that are considered hybrid campuses. So we're one of those. So we actually have 5th through 8th grade on our campus. Now in our daily schedule, we just teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We don't really see any part of the 5th graders unless we do like for recruiting outreach things. So we normally just teach band every day, 6th through 8th grade, and there are 3 of us. So I'm the head director, and then I have 2 awesome assistants, Lisa Manson and Khadija Merrill. Lisa's a flute player, Khadija's an oboe player, and then we have our percussion director that comes down from Timber Creek High School, Chad Mason. So I feel like we've got a really good team. We work really well together. It's fun every day. And the band program is doing really well. We're a double C program and kind of on the smaller side. We've got just under 200 kids in the program, 6 through 8. And that's been pretty consistent the 3 years that I've been here. I think the highest it's been has been like 220. Currently, right now, we're a little bit on the smaller side, but our classes have kind of been getting a little smaller just in general across grade levels. So yeah, we've got about less than 200 kids in the program. And when I first came to Timberview 3 years ago, there was when you take over a program, there's always things that you want to do your way or things that you want to fix. So I do feel like the team that I started with at Timberview and the team that I have now, we really busted our tails over the last 3 years. So the program has seen a lot of growth. It's gotten some accolades from the kids, which has been really awesome for them. And this last year, we were invited to go to perform at the Music for All National Concert Festival in Indianapolis. And then here comes Corona, and our trip was canceled. We were told not to leave literally 3 hours before I was going to leave to go to the airport. So it's been a crazy year, but it's been a really great year leading up to all the crazy. So
Very cool. And how many bands do you have there? And how's your
oh,
beginner? What's the beginner setup also for those listening?
So our 6th graders we have in homogeneous class settings. They meet every day. So it's like a trumpet class, a clarinet class. Last year we had trombone euphonium together. We had oboe bassoon together. But every other class is separate and taught by either 2 of us or 1 of us for 6th grade. And then we have 3 7th and 8th grade performing bands that are ability group based. The top 2 bands are the ones that kind of go to contests and are fully instrumentated, and then the 3rd band is usually pretty small. It's more kind of a skills-based class is how we've structured it. So like we have like any move-ins, maybe from out of state or out of country, or if we have like 7th grade beginners or 8th grade beginners, we normally put them in the 3rd band. And all of our 7th and 8th grade bands, we team teach as much as possible. So like if we do have 7th and 8th grade beginners, we're able to give them attention and, kind of catch them up. They've started band in the 2nd or 3rd year of school. So, yeah.
Cool. Sounds like a good old standard band program. of what a lot of
Mhm.
people deal with. No crazy numbers, and so this will be good to kind of get an idea how you guys have managed being with school closure. So let's dig into that part of it. So what is a let's look at it from a week perspective. What does a week look like for the staff, yourself, and your students?
So we are fortunate that our district is allowing us to use Zoom. I know some districts around the state have put the nix on that. We have like where it's password protected, so you have to get in. It didn't start off that way, but it is now. So I do like using Zoom. I think that works great for the kids. It's pretty user friendly. So we normally have at least a staff meeting between us, like in my staff, like once a week, and we're constantly texting each other and staying in communication that way. Um, but I've seen ours is a little different, and I think we have structured ours slightly different than maybe like larger middle school band programs have. We have our program is small enough that in about a given 2 week span, we can kind of get around to every kid for the most part. So we have not been doing like class Zooms. We did like a class hangout when we first kind of started this whole Zoom process with the kids. And because I've seen like other band directors on Facebook that have been doing like rehearsals and sectionals, and for us, I don't think that's as beneficial as doing like one-on-one private lessons. So that's what we've been doing this whole time. And we send out an email on Sunday with like a Google Sheet sign up, and right now, and we kind of tailor it depending on the week. Like our eighth graders are submitting their recorded audition for high school. Like today is the last day for them. So this week's focus has been more eighth grade times to get them ready for their audition. And then starting next week, we'll really only kind of open up our private lesson schedule between the four of us on our staff to our kids for really sixth and seventh graders to keep them going. Because after the eighth graders have kind of done their audition, it's kind of it. They're trying to move on. And so we're going to kind of turn our focus to our sixth and seventh graders that we're going to have next year. So that's what we've been doing with our Zoom stuff. It's just been signups and whoever wants to. The parents have been really appreciative of it. And Keller ISD has decided to not grade anything. And I think some districts are kind of doing that as well. So like we're on a 9 week grading period. And for this last 9 weeks, the district has just decided to do kind of a pass or fail. If you've had any communication with the student or their family, then you pass them. And Keller ISD really, I think, has taken to the right part of it. For us, it's really about the connection with the kids. We're kind of resigned ourselves to the fact that, whenever we are able to go back to school and we do hear those kids in that first concert F for the first time, like it's just gonna be behind and everyone's gonna be in the same boat, and that's fine. We're just trying to keep a connection with the kids through this whole process and kind of take care of them that way, and just to make sure that they still know that, hey, your band directors are still here. We still want to help you get better at your instrument, and we still love you, and we still care about how you're doing and how your family's doing. So that's been our big part of it, because I think some people's home lives right now are crazy. Um, and so Keller IC has kind of put a big belief in not overwhelming our families or not trying to give them too much when they're trying to figure out how to manage this too on their end, with having their kids at home and having to kind of direct their learning with the e-learning from their core classes and core teachers. So we are trying to not overwhelm our kids and our families with anything that's unnecessary. So everything is kind of a suggestion. And we're fortunate enough that our kids are biting, and the parents want to keep them playing on their instrument, and they're so appreciative of the time that we give to the kids each week. And so I've been doing 45-minute lessons with my kids that sign up, with a little 15-minute break in between so I can run to the bathroom and then come back. So last week I kind of overcommitted myself, and I was teaching from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and that was a little bit too much, so I kind of dialed it back a little bit this week. But I wanted to make sure my eighth graders were ready for their high school audition. So that's kind of what we've been doing, is just private lessons.
So, because I know you mentioned Chad Mason from the high school does stuff. So are all four of you doing lessons? Is it three, or is he taking care of the percussion? How does that work with the rest of the staff?
hmm So we're kind of taking care of whatever sixth grade class that we are normally in charge of teaching, like the teacher of record. That person is responsible for those sixth graders and kind of reaching out to them and getting a hold of them and lessons with them. Chad is doing the same thing with the beginner percussion class. Chad is doing a little bit more of a class setting over Zoom, but like our beginning percussion class is like our numbers are kind of small, so we have like 6 or 7 that's in there. So he's able to schedule like an hour Zoom and still give individual attention to the kids that way. So none of our classes are super big except for our band classes, and we're meeting with them one on one. So
That's
we're all doing it.
what kind of resources do you all use? You mentioned Zoom. Are there other things you found to be helpful and useful?
hmm So Keller is big on all things Google. We kind of made that transition about 2 years ago when I first got here. So we have been using Google Classroom as well. And so when I want to post, a copy of the solo, that's one of our big things that we kind of do at the end of the year with all of our kids, like everybody. And for our sixth graders, that's kind of like the last thing, most challenging thing that they learn at the end of the year because they're at their best playing ability, obviously, at the end of the year. So our push for sixth grade has been through solo. So like they didn't get any of that before we got out for spring break. So we post music, copies of their solo in Google Classroom that they can print or look at home. And then we've all made kind of practice videos of ourselves. Um, so like if I were at school and teaching my sixth grade class, we would do a lot of call and response at the beginning of class, and it would be I play, you play, and I do that all throughout the year. We kind of all structure our classes that way. So I've made, or all of us have made practice videos where it's exactly the same process and procedure as it is in class. I play and I have a metronome going and I leave the space for them to echo me. So really they can just hit play on the recording that I've made of myself in Google Classroom and they can play along with it exactly like we would be in class, even though it's not live. So we've done that way. I've done like a scale practice video. I have to do a couple more videos this weekend of solo practice to get them going on that. But we've used Google Classroom in that respect, and we've also used it for like announcements, like, "Hey, here's the sign up list for this week. Make sure you check with your parent about what time before you sign up for a spot." So we've used Google Classroom too, and of course email and remind text sometimes.
I love the video thing. I keep hearing that. So what do you use when you all make those videos? What resource or app or phone or what kind of device do you use? How do you create those?
So that took me a little bit to figure out. So when I started off, I was trying to figure out if I could record like on FaceTime because I've got like a MacBook Pro of my own that I use for all things work and home. So that didn't really work out, and so I actually use Photo Booth and I record myself in video and photo booth, and then I can save that to my desktop and drop it into my G Drive, and then I can post it in Google Classroom. So I've used Photo Booth. That's the one of the apps on the MacBook.
Oh, and that's a different one. That's the first I've heard of photo booth. I've heard of Screencastify and record through Zoom and different things and cell phones. So that's another resource people can use for that. So cool.
Mhm.
That's why we do this. Find other tools to, and I think you're right, Ryan, is that one of the challenges that everybody's teachers are having is how do I do this? Like what's going to work and not work? Let's talk about communication with your students. What's your communication methods through the year, and does that continue? Is it just Google Classroom? Do you use any other devices to contact your students?
So I use Remind Text a lot, especially with my seventh and eighth graders that are in like my top band. So I text with them and they can text with me. I have like their band parents text me, at any time, and um, it's I put in a lot of hours like most band directors do, and so our parents, especially my top band parents, know at this point that they can text me anytime and I will respond, and it doesn't matter how late or early it is. So, but for sixth grade, Remind kind of has that rule of anybody that's like 12 and younger can't reply back to you, or you can't really send them a direct message. You can just send like a blanket message. So for our sixth graders, really use Remind for them. We use it for their parents if their parents want to text us a question or something. But we definitely use Remind with our kids for seventh and eighth grade. For sixth grade, it's been more Google Classroom and kind of communicating to their parents through email in that way. And I've emailed my sixth graders and they email me, but I try to, because they're so much younger, and it's their first time in band, I usually try to include the parent on every email or every Zoom login link that I send, so they see my communication with their sixth grader, and so everybody's on the same page, and they're not worried about me being professional on my end with their young kid or whatever it is. So
That's great. Any new tricks or tools you've learned in this process?
um, I feel quite adept at Zoom these days. Good and bad. Like we have a lot of we have faculty meetings twice a week on Zoom, and I even we have I've been on interview panels for Zoom this year. That's been really interesting, to not be able to be in person with the person, and to kind of see their personality and their body movements and their and all that stuff while they're interviewing, because you really get a sense of someone, of whether they're going to work well with your staff or whether they're going to work well with somebody else's staff on the campus, if you can like be in person with them. So that's been really weird to do over Zoom, but I think it still works. You can still connect with a person over Zoom. I will say I've used Google Classroom way more this year than I ever have in the past. So I do envision, like, hopefully when all of this returns to normal and we can go back to school, I can see using Zoom in the future here and there for like kids, that can't meet me up at school on the weekend if they want some extra help, like on the Region Band audition music or whatever it is, and us doing it over Zoom. Or we've always used Google Classroom, and I've used Google Classroom even in Rockwall before I was at Timberview, for like posting videos or like the kids submitting video assignments that way. So yeah, I think that's really been the new thing, and making videos of myself has been weird to do, and especially to go watch it back. It's kind of like hearing yourself on a voicemail for the first time. You're like, that's what I really sound like to everybody else? I'm like, oh, I guess so. So there's been some self-discovery there. I'm like, God, I look stupid when I teach.
I love it. And that's so true. It's like, not only are we learning new things, but you're just talking already about how does this apply when we get back? Because I think that'll be what's the takeaway that we all can figure out, good and bad? What are the things that'll help us be better teachers and better educators in the process? So I love that. So is there anything that for yourself, you've done or been able to do that we have all this time at home?
Yes. So I'm trying not to get fat. Because I feel like all I do is dishes. Because I'm home all the time, so I'm trying not to eat everything in sight, because like I get bored a lot, when I'm not teaching, like in the evening. So I'm trying not to eat myself out of house and home. So obviously like gyms are closed, so I've been doing like some beach body stuff on demand that I can like work out at home and try to keep the weight off as much as possible. One of the other ways I've tried to keep my sanity is to kind of Zoom with friends in the evening. So like I've done that a lot with Robert Herrings at Henry Middle School, and Corey Graves at Romer. We're all really great friends, and my staff. And so we'll get a Zoom conference call together. We did it last night, and we'll play games together. So one of us will buy like a game on the App Store, and lately it's been stuff like with Jackbox games, Fibbage. There's like a murder mystery party one, Quiplash, and it's kind of like trivia games. So one person can share their screen and everybody can see it on their computer, and then you can go to the website and log in with your phone, and everybody kind of plays live. So it's like you would be playing games in around, in a circle, like at somebody's house. It's just over digital, and so that's been a really great way to stay connected to friends and loved ones, to see their face and talk to them on a daily basis. I think that's really important for everybody to do at this point, because it can get lonely, it can get boring, it can get a little in your headspace, and so I think staying connected to other individuals as much as you can has been a way for me to keep my sanity.
And to play games with people all over the state or all over the country. for our well-being. Not just we care so much about our kids, and I know you do, and your staff taking care of them, but our own well-being. So a good little tidbit for people to use, and you threw out like 3 or 4 little games that are great for people to check out also. Any shout outs you want to give?
Um, let's see. I will say it's been really awesome to see all the things on Facebook that other band directors are kind of doing with their students, and I think that's one of the things that band directors do best is share ideas, and we kind of all steal from each other, but it's all for the betterment of our kids. And it's been nice to see on Facebook all the because everybody misses their kids, everybody misses their family. There are some people that are going through some really tough times right now, but I feel like my Facebook feed has been filled with more positive things about the online and remote teaching outreach things that people are trying to do with their kids and try to make it work. And that's been really great to do. And I think we all kind of learn from each other that way. But shout outs definitely to my staff and all my friends. Robert Herrings and Corey Graves, shout out to them. They're like some of my best friends on the planet. I've known Robert, man, since I was in the 7th grade. We were both playing trumpet together in the Waco Youth Symphony Orchestra. And so I've known Robert forever. And so it's been really cool for us to kind of all do this together. And we share ideas every day. We text every day. And so, yeah, it's been great. So shout out to them. Shout out to my staff, Lisa and Khadija and Chad and our high school staff. James Barnes and Daniel Malicon and Connor Barnett. They're awesome. Yeah.
Very cool. Any last words of wisdom for everybody watching?
Do whatever you need to do to stay sane. And I think if you're feeling lonely, someone else is feeling lonely too. And to reach out to your friends and reach out to your loved ones. And I think as lonely as we are feeling and as sad as we all are to not see our kids on a daily basis like we normally would, they feel the same. So I think the human interaction and the human connection to keep that going with our kids is the most important thing that we're going to do through this whole quarantine process with the coronavirus. So I think as much of that you can do is the more important thing. Like they're going to be behind on playing their instrument, and everybody's going to be, and that's fine. You know, no one knows what coming back to school is going to look like. It's not going to be jumping back into normal. I think it's going to be a long process of, we don't know what that's going to look like. So I think the connection part is going to be the most important thing for us to all remember, and that you can't control a lot of things as what's happening right now, and you can only do the best you can do, and that's all you can do.
That's awesome. Yeah, so true. Also, so true for everyone. Just do the best you can and keep fighting one day at a time too. So, Ryan Straten, thank you very much for joining me on the Hey Band Network today.
Yeah, you're welcome. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad that you're doing this and doing more of them.
Yeah, we keep them going. It keeps people talking about what they're doing and sharing their ideas, and there's some new stuff that anybody watching, hopefully you picked up from this video. I would encourage anyone to jump on the Hey Band Network YouTube channel and subscribe and like this video. And you can also see other videos in our remote teaching and leadership series on the Hey Band Network. Ryan, thank you very much for joining me. You be safe out there, and happy teaching online.
Thank you. You too, Chad.
All right. Awesome. Great job.
Yay.
Very good. Very cool. You're the photo booth. I never would have thought of that either.
Yes.
Never. I like
it's easy. It's so easy. So easy.
Photo booth, but it's what works. I've used Screencastify. Man, it's just trashy quality, but you know, it's teach through the line. You can see the music and you play along, and they can see you in the little corner. And
that's cool.
Not all of our kids have not all of our kids have a printer and have that access. So it's all on this is all they have. So we try and, and that's what's interesting. Everybody has to cater to their audience differently. We all have the kids that have only this, but.
Yeah, our district has done, they're doing like the food drives kind of thing where people can still come pick up lunches and breakfasts, that's not even a word, breakfast, and checked out, they've had like technology checkouts where they've checked out laptops or checked out Chromebooks. Our district even did like a couple hotspots for like people that don't have internet at home, that they can kind of drive to a neighborhood location and they will have like a hotspot of Wi-Fi for a certain number of hours in the day for kids to, so they don't have any network at home, but they have that option. So
And we're in a huge district, like the land wise. It's the first or second largest school district in terms of size in the state of Texas. And
mm,
so like we have, I mean, it's like neighborhoods like where Corey's at. You know, you get kids that live out in the middle of nowhere and they're in the band and have to do school and all, I mean, all that stuff, trying to make it work. So everybody has their new challenges, but
mm.
figure it out and make it work for the kids. I like, you're the first person who's just done the lesson thing. No one else has had a system like that. If it works,
Yeah,
it
I
works.
feel, yeah, I haven't